here it is. Pull that back in there so you can see it. So Cuisenaire metric blocks. I saw this on eBay. It's a really old kit. I don't think I've seen it anywhere else online. I think I got really lucky, and so I ordered it, and here we go. Let's look what's in it. So these are great. So these are Cuisenaire rods, and I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they've got they're like multi-unit blocks, so they progressively get bigger. There's a 1, a 2, a 3. Then you've got 4 and 5, and then 6, and 7, and then 8 is in here somewhere. There's an 8. And a 9, and then 10, which is in here somewhere as well. I'm not quite sure where the 10s are in here. Anyways, this is a real cool kit. I'm not quite sure how to pull this out. I think I'm gonna move this just over to the side and then pull some of the blocks out, which you can see it's a huge kit. I believe it weighs about 22 pounds, I think they said. And it's a vintage kit. It's not one that you can buy online, so if you do see one of these, you know, snap it up, because they're far and few between. But anyways, I'm going to move it over here, and then I'm going to pull some of the blocks out. So as I've shown you, you've got your multi-units, and then what they have here is squares. So there's a 2 square, and then they also have cubes, so there's a 2 cubed. And then hopefully I'll find a 10 in here at some point. But they've got all of the squares, so they get progressively bigger. One, of course, is a square and a cube all at the same time there. And they get progressively bigger. Boy, I tell you, there's a lot in here. This is pretty exciting. There's that cube. And there's this cube. Of course, that would be the 1 cube right there. And I don't think that's the next one. I think this is the next one. Let me pull one out if I can get it out. There's the next one. Let me see. I hope this is all still in view. Let's push this down. I've got cubes. I think that's the next one. I think I'm going to need a little bit of room here to show you all the cubes. And then they've got this one. I guess I could still go down a little ways here by the looks of it on my camera. Trying to make sure I stay in screen. And then the last 2 I'm just going to put down here is that. And so then you've got these squares. And there's the 5 square, or yellow square if you wanted to call it that. There's this square. Push these up a bit. And there's the 9 square. You see that? And then here's your 10 square. And I'm looking for... there's your 7 square. Okay, so 7 square, 8, 9, 10. And then each of... this one has a square as well. Where is it? I'm not quite sure. Oh, there we go. There's that square. So can you see they've each got their own unit block, and then they have a square and a cube. So you can see that. That's the same like that. And then this is obviously it's going to be the same, like across and depth and then up, length, width, and height. And so they've each got their own unit block. And then I think I'm missing, there's the 8 square, that would go with that. There's the 9 square, that goes with that. Still haven't found my orange. The tens, well, I have one in my other kit here, so I'll pull that out. I know they're in here somewhere probably, but that's your tens. And you could use these for like all sorts of things. Like you could also use this as x's. So if that was your x, then this would be x squared, and that would be x cubed. And then you could also show how x cubed could be laid out flat as a rectangle. So, oops, that's your x cubed would be that, 2 by 2 by 2. And then you could show that that could be laid out flat as a rectangle. So there's x cubed with in 3D, and there's x cubed in 2D. So there's x squared, x cubed, which will allow you to do like factoring and things like that for polynomials. Anyways, this is a huge kit. I'm really excited to play around with it and see what we have. But these are great. I guess I wasn't really planning to play math tonight with these, so I'm not really sure what to show you with this, but I'll just put these away for a minute. Basically, you could, give all of these blocks codes. So if you wanted to give, you could have that as an R. Felt, I brought a felt out here. What did I do with it? I have no idea. Oh, there it is. So if this was R, right, then this would be R squared. And then this would be R cubed. Right? So, I mean, you could build R squared plus 2R. So there's R squared plus 2R plus 1. Right? You could use this one here maybe, and this would be maybe Y. So that would be Y. So this would be Y. And that would be Y squared. And you could build Y squared plus, well, let's see, Y squared. So this would be Y squared plus 3Y plus, and if we just are using these as units, that would be 2, so plus 2. So do you see how you could do polynomials with these? Let's build this a little bit more. Maybe we have R cubed. So let's do R cubed. Plus, so this will be your R cubed. You see how I've taken that cube and I've made it like that. So I've got R cubed plus R squared plus 2R. And perhaps that's all I'll do at the moment right now. I can't. I'm having a little bit of a moment trying to figure out what I wanted to do here. R squared. Well, actually, no, because I could also do R squared. So R squared is 4, so I could put another. Let me just see. So this would be, if we took this square and split it, we could have that like that. So then we could have this as R cubed plus R squared plus 3R, and this would actually be another square, so 2R squared, and then plus 3R plus 2 in the corner, which we'll just use these for 2's. So there's your R cubed right here, which was this, and I split it down. And then this is 1R squared, and then I made it long and skinny, and there's another R squared. So 2R squared, and then these are the R's, because that's the length of each of these sides. R by R gives you your R squared. So there's your 1, 2, 3 R's plus 2 in the corner. And then if you wanted to factor that, you would have R squared across plus R plus 2, and then you would have R plus 1 up. Hopefully you can see that. I might have got that out of screen. This would be 1, 2, 3, and then we've got 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. We could also just assign those color names, so this could be white, red, green, purple, yellow, dark green, black, brown, dark blue, and orange. And if we gave them letter names, I mean, perhaps that's W for white, and this would be R for red, and green, and then purple, and then yellow, and dark green, and black. And actually, maybe I think that most people use K for that, for the end letter, and then they use B for that. I'm not quite sure, I can't remember. And then blue, maybe that's, I don't know, maybe E for the end, because we've already got a B here. And then orange, I'm not sure that I would use O, because O is very close to 0. So orange, maybe we've got G, how about N, because N is in there. Okay. So you could let these all have letter names, and then you could say that white, W, is equal to 1/2 of R. Right, so you can start teaching algebraic concepts, but you're also really just looking at the relationships between the blocks, right? Or if we wanted to say, we could also say that R is the same as 2 white, because R takes 2 white to make R, right? Or you could say maybe you have yellow and you want to take away purple, so you're taking away purple from it, y minus p, and y minus p equals white. Can you see that? So you can actually introduce letters in that with these blocks really easy to the kids that you're working with. Again, I use Mortensen math blocks, and I have a code that actually each kid makes up their own code with the blocks. They come up with their own letters. We don't use an L, and we don't use O because, or X, because that could look like a 1, a 0, and a time sign. So we don't use those particular letters. But other than that, they're pretty much free to assign letter names to their color names for the blocks. There's so much that you can do with this kit. So you can do basic algebraic concepts. Actually, you can get quite in depth with the algebra. You can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, fractions, percents, decimals. For instance, if this is your whole one, right, then this would be 1/10, right? So the white would equal 1/10. This would equal 4/10, right? If this is your whole one, then this would be 1/100th, and this would be 1/10, right? This would be 4/100ths right here. If this was 100%, and you wanted to know what 10% of, say, 20 is, so this would be 100%, and we're looking for 10% of 20. Well, 10% of 20 would just be 2. Can you see that? We're just looking at that amount, but we can make it into a rectangle like this, and then they just have to go 10% of 20. Well, that's 2. It doesn't really matter which way you do it this way, whether you do it this way or you do it this way. I don't always put it on top, because we denote the on top as subtraction, because we're cutting that part off. So a lot of times we do it this way, but it is good to show the kids that if this is 100%, we're just looking at this amount of that 100%, 10% of it, and this is the number that we're looking at. Well, there's 10% is just 2 out of 20, right? You can, now this, it's not maybe quite as easy to do have and O with these. With the Mortensen blocks, you can turn them upside down, and they're hollow on one side. So you can do have and O with these, but it's just a different approach. And one that I haven't really used that often because I just find the Mortensen math blocks to be easier to show that with the kids. It takes 2 or 3 exposures, and then they've, figured out have and O, which is positive and negative numbers. There are some really great concepts that I'm going to be able to show with these. I won't give it all away in this video. I will probably make some videos up with kind of just short little lessons. But this gives you a good overview of what I've got. So if you guys ever see these kits, because mostly all you get for these when you buy them online is these. Have I missed something here? Yeah, I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Usually that's pretty much what you get. And then you might get some flats for these that you can buy. But this is the first time I've ever seen it where you've got all these squares. I mean, and there's just so much that you can do with these. It's just so exciting. Never thought I'd actually be this excited about Cuisenaire rods because it's not really what I started off with, but I really do like the Cuisenaire rods as well. You make your square numbers, make pyramids, I'm missing something. Oh, there it is there. And there's your other square right on top. So you make some pyramids. I mean, you could even look at cubes and look at the size of them and see how they progressively get smaller. I think this is kind of like the pink Montessori tower. I'm not quite sure, but I think that it is sort of on par with that. And you can stack it, and you could go all the way up, which would actually be quite fun. And you can compare how much bigger one cube is from the other. You could do volume with these. You could do surface area with these. Perimeter with these. And you've got length, you've got area, and you've got volume. There's just so much that you can do with these. You can do time with these because you could create a clock that has 5-minute intervals and things like that, using these as your minutes. You create a clock with it, and then you could use 2 of these for 2 different blocks. I don't know if these would be the ones that are pretty big, but for I guess you'd want a shorter one and a longer one for your hour and your minute hand, and you'd put that in there. Oh gosh, there's so much that you can do with these. And I'm so tired tonight that I can't even think of half of it. But anyways, this is a pretty cool kit, so if you see anything like this on eBay, snap it up, because they don't come around very often. I got lucky. I've been fairly sick for a little while, and when I get sick, I troll eBay because I can't usually do much else other than watch TV, and sometimes I just get tired of TV, and I don't always have the energy to do my work online. So I was really quite sick one night, and I started trolling eBay, and this popped up, and I didn't hit buy right away because usually I talk to my husband, which I did, and I'm really glad that it was still there when I did go back to buy it, because I've looked everywhere online and can't find this. But this is what it's called. There's what it looks like. If you want to look around and see if you could find one for yourself. I don't know if you will find one, but maybe one day it'll pop up and you'll be able to get one too. So look for those deals between Mortensen Math and Cuisenaire rods and Math UC and Teach for Mastery and I can't think of all of them right now. Easy Math. There's so many resources out there to teach your kids hands-on math from K to 12. I mean, these, you can deal with exponents with these, you can deal with square numbers with these, you can do square roots. For instance, square roots basically is if I want to take the square root of 4, right? Now there's my 4. Where's my 4? There's 4. I want to find the square root of 4. All you got to do is just turn that into a square and count one side. Well, one side of that is 2, right? 1, 2. I still have 4. Can you see that? It makes the equal sign actually. There's your equal sign. But you turn it into a square and you count one side, right? You want to take a cube root, say of maybe 8. There's 8, right? Well, you could build that into, so what you do is you turn it into a cube, right? I don't think that's the right one. I can't think today. That would be 4. What am I thinking? Yeah, that would be 8. I don't know what I'm doing tonight. This would be 8 because it's 2 levels of 4. Can you see that? You'd need 4. And then I'm also used to working with the Cuisenaire rods more than the the Mortensen math rods more than the Cuisenaire rods. And the Mortensen math rods are segmented. And I find these a little bit harder to use because they're not segmented, and so sometimes I get messed up a little bit. So depending on how your kids are and whether they find that easy to use unsegmented blocks or they need the segmented blocks, that will be, that'll sort of drive your direction as to what kind of hands-on materials you buy. So you can see I got a little mixed up with that, and that's just my style of learning. I'm not as... I like the segmented blocks. They just help me. That being said, I can still figure it out, right? So I need 2 levels of 4 there, right? 4 and 4 is 8. So turn this into a cube, right? Well, now I actually have this cube, which is why I'm saying this is an excellent kit, because you've got the cube. But and then you just count one side, and that is going to be 2, right? It's 2 every way. So the cube root of 8 is 2. It doesn't quite work that way for the 4th root and the 5th root, etc., etc. There's different approaches to those. You can do arithmetic sequences and progressions, and geometric sequences and progressions, and just so much that you can do with this. You can do basic calc with this, like Calc 1, derivatives and things like that. And again, it's the same with Mortensen math blocks, it's the same with easy math blocks, and it's the same with this particular kit. You can do a lot with it, as well as even just with the basic kit of the multi-units that normally come in a Cuisenaire rod kit. Math UC you can do a lot with as well. It's a little bit more clunky because of having to put the decimal inserts and the algebra inserts into it, but still very, very doable and really easy to get your hands on. And I mean, they're all over eBay. If you go to homeschool curriculum swaps, they're just a dime a dozen. Although last year when I went to the homeschool curriculum swap, not one Math UC kit, no Cuisenaire rods. Now Mortensen Math is never. I've never seen a kit up here in Canada at a second-hand sale or anything like that. They're very hard to come by in Canada, and fairly hard to come by in the U.S. Unless you order through Mortensen Math Direct. Well, through myself or Ben or Jeff. Marty doesn't actually like taking direct orders, although you can do it. She would prefer not to. She'd rather that you guys go through one of us. But you can get it from the company. You just have to order through either myself or Ben or Jeff. And so I've seen them on Amazon occasionally, and I have gotten some kits off of eBay, but I haven't seen any kits on eBay now for a little while. I did see one on a different site, which I've sent a link to a friend of mine who wanted to buy some kits. So there were 2 that I found recently, but they're not that easy to come by. And then you've got Teach for Mastery, which is pretty good. They've got some really neat little hands-on materials and some videos and some books and that they've written. There's so many little programs out there now for hands-on materials that there's no need for a child to struggle if they're just get your hands on some blocks. And I see I'm missing my 8 there. This is what I like about this, okay? If you were looking at sequences and stuff, like an arithmetic sequence where there's a difference in your staircase, you can see that there's a difference of 1 here. Oh. And as I was talking to you, I could see that difference was not the same there. So the common difference there wasn't common, it was different. So I could see that I was missing something in my staircase. And this is just a basic sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it could go on and on forever. It could even go down into the negatives, but depending where you started, right? Like if this is your first term, then that's where it starts and it goes up. But I mean, maybe your first term's over here somewhere, and you can show kids how to do sequences and what the common difference is just by the steps and the stairs. So yeah, there's just some really neat stuff. I could go on and on forever, but I think I will call that a day. Just, you know, again, I guess my point is when you see good things, good hands-on materials, don't wait, just buy them, because they might not be there the next day, and it's very unlikely you'll see them again. This is the first time in all the time that I've been on eBay that I have seen this particular kit. And I've not seen anybody else that's playing with the blocks show this particular kit. I did, after I saw this kit, Google a little bit and saw that there were a few people that had something very similar to this, if not the same. There was 1 or 2 pictures that I saw. So they must have existed quite a long time ago, and the rare person has their hands on them, or they're in somebody's closet or basement or whatever, or maybe they got chucked out, I don't know. So, you know, don't waste an opportunity. If you see good stuff, buy it, and this particular kit is a good kit. Although I do sell Mortenson Math materials, so if that's something you're interested in, that's my big, well, I don't sell Mortenson Math materials, I take orders for the company, and I'm a big proponent of Mortenson Math. I absolutely love Mortenson Math, and I love this program as well. I think they're very complementary to each other. But you know, you will choose which one works for you, or you'll do like me and you'll do a hybrid of all of them, and you know, you'll figure out what works for you and your kids. Alright, I'm going to call it a night. It's been a long day, and I will try and get this video up.